crime doesn't occur, that's the real win, not that we catch the criminal. We will always have to be reactive, but the focus with really strong crime analysis is knowing where and when to be and how to measure it, and then to see a reduction in the actual occurrence of crime. Crime analysis isn't a separate part. It should be embedded and woven through everything we do. We all got into this job to make a difference. We'll be better than we found it.
What's going on, analysts? Welcome to the channel where we talk about all things crime analysis. In this video, I spoke with Police Chief Rich Johnston of the Barrie Police Service in Canada. So let's go ahead and get started. Today's guest is Rich Johnston, Police Chief of the Barrie Police Service. He holds an Honours Bachelor of Arts degree in Philosophy from Queen's University, a Master's in Leadership Studies from Guelph University, and he's currently working towards his Master's degree in Applied Criminology and Police Management from Cambridge University in the UK. I sat down recently with Chief Johnston for a candid one-on-one conversation about policing strategies, evidence-based policing, crime analysis, and the future of professional policing. And this is what he said.
I haven't been shy about the fact of where I think policing as a profession needs to go and where we need to focus. And specifically to some of the individuals you probably hang around with a lot, the primacy of data and those who have to, those we ask to not just manipulate, but to analyze, interpret, and assist us in executing a plan with respect to public safety. Geographically, we're 45 minutes north of Toronto. That's the major center. For anyone who doesn't know Barrie, they know where Toronto is in Canada and Ontario. Of all the police services in Ontario, we're the 13th largest. So we're right behind Sudbury Regional at this time, Sudbury Regional Police. So we're not one of the big services, and we're not one of the very small services. And from my perspective, that is an ideal place for us to be in terms of if you're too big, you're not dynamic, you don't have the ability to pivot, innovate fast, innovate, fail forward, and then continue on. And because that's an important part, I think, of Barrie Police. We've tried a lot of things, but I think we're on a good track for the last while now in terms of how we're approaching things in a very far more systematic way and research-driven way. So loaded question, and the assumption being that a ton has changed, and in some respects, it's been seismic. In other respects, it could be that day all over again when you came over to 60 Bell Farm and we spoke about dashboards, and I was asking questions about stuff I knew, not knowing what I didn't know, so not being able to ask questions about that. And I remember that conversation with you. And I look back, I'm like, oh my goodness, would that have been far more helpful back to have at least some knowledge? So with respect to evidence-based policing, the caveat here is the fear, right? So I will let you know that as a policing culture, there is, the flavor of the day, all the right words, the right language, intelligence-led policing, community policing. And I would say there's a use of the concepts inappropriately sometimes, or in a vague or in a misunderstood way. I've looked at the research on this. I've done the job and I spoke with 3 people doing it now. That's not what we're talking about. So what that concept means, evidence-based policing, in terms of the Barrie Police itself, we have seen, in terms of our use of data, it's in some respect the same as when we spoke. And in some areas of our service, it's far beyond, and in no small part thanks to the introduction, and then what you can do with it, even in the dashboarding. So that's telling you what's going on or giving you some picture, situational awareness. But what do you do with that beyond that? First, you have to be able to. It's asking more questions. That's the good stuff. So when you get really good analysis, it's not like, oh, there's the answer, because it's not. It's just not like that. It's now I have a different question, a more complex question, or it's just a different way of looking at it because you're more informed. So in some respects, and I will speak directly to our community safety and well-being portion of our organization, and especially the harm-focused team, they're deploying based on analysis of data with respect to our high harm people, looking across our population, knowing very well and good that of all of our population, an incredibly small percentage of that are committing crime. And of that very small percentage that are committing crime, which is not unusual given the research out there in the law of concentration of crime, there's an even smaller percentage of that commit the most harmful crime. So why are you trying to police an entire population of people the same way? It's actually quite ineffectual and antiquated. Much like deployment models for a whole bunch of places in, I would say, Western civilizations. You know crime doesn't happen temporally and spatially spread. It just doesn't happen equally. You cannot, I think every police officer knows that. Yet we ask our people to go into a car, women and men every day with a red stripe down their leg, or blue if it's the OPP, and we say go out into the community and go into this area and drive around. And I still struggle with that concept. With you're burning fossil fuel, yes, but you're stopping crime. Are you? So there's not been any crime there. But if there hasn't been any crime there anyway for an extended period of time, what effect are you having? And so you look at your resource deployment. We know across an entire area, there's a very small number of locations that disproportionately are the locations of crime. And of that, there's a small percentage that commit the most harmful crime. And some of those overlay with the voluminous, more like commercial type, but others are very much where the most harmful crime to a community are. So the rational question is, what are you doing putting your resources everywhere trying to police the entire community the same when you could really be far more targeted and focused? That's the simple issue with our harm-focused teams and even our deployment of our frontline personnel when they're told where our hotspots are. But it goes beyond that. So the larger issue here is legitimacy, police legitimacy. And I know I will ramble, but here's something to keep in mind though. We do know that for a police service, and we talk about legitimacy, we're looking at lawfulness, effectiveness, procedural justice, and distributive justice. That's what the literature is telling us about legitimacy. When you look at it, you want to be an effective police service, you better be using your data. So lawful, and I think that's fairly straightforward. There are laws, they're put in place by our elected government, and we go out there and we enforce them and we interpret them as through legal precedent, but also through what's written in the Criminal Code of Canada. We get that. Effectiveness is somewhere we need to do far better at it. So what are you doing and why are you there? Now we want to see when you have a limited resource, very finite. And I'll be the first one to tell you, in Canada, we are well paid. We're treated incredibly well by our communities, and we're held to a higher standard. But we have to demonstrate value for dollar for our communities. But beyond just value for dollar, there is a social contract that we're agreeing to. We are there to protect. Enforcement's a portion of that, and there's a challenge there. So there's also a cultural aspect in terms of the enforcement side is not everything. We need to be there to help people. And they need to see us that way too, because it's a public safety service. The police force ideal is gone. We still may peddle that in terms of recruitment. I've never jumped out of a helicopter, and I know there's a lot of recruiting videos where you super SWAT stuff, and I enjoyed my time in certain areas of the organization, but the reality is almost all of our police service time is engaging with people. What if you knew a better time to be and a better place to be to affect crime? And please understand, it's not that I don't care about crime, but if the crime doesn't occur, that's the real win, not that we catch the criminal. We will always have to be reactive, but the focus with really strong crime analysis is knowing where and when to be and how to measure it, and then to see a reduction in the actual occurrence of crime, reported crime. We'll never know what actual crime occurs, but we have to recognize the fact that of the police reported crime that does happen, that we're aware of, what are we doing about it? Hold us to a higher standard. We should be. It's a profession. Where the problem is in the lack of adoption or lack of openness, so complex problem, and I have a simple answer, and it will always be wrong. So it depends. To speak to and it's not a culture of I refuse. It's a culture of not an unwillingness, but a discomfort with change. And I've heard Jerry Ratcliffe speak a couple of times, and I still laugh every time because it's the truism. Just it resonates with all officers. There's two things cops hate, right? Change in the way things are. So I mean, you're kind of stuck between two things. They can't stand the way they're doing it, but they hate new stuff. So where does that leave us? As a culture, we are, and I did actually participate in a strategic planning meeting once, and the discussion happened. Will never be as fast as private industry at adopting new technology, new ways of doing things, and it's true because we just don't want to, or it won't occur because we don't believe it will occur. It is a historical belief that there is a top-down, we're going to tell you to do it and you're going to do it. That in a paramilitary organization and in a military organization, in theory, on paper, that works. Map that to human behavior. Good luck. So we know that if you want to alter behavior, you have to act on the actors that you want to do something differently. But how to do that gets right into the psychology and the sociology within any kind of human organization. Policing has some traditions, and so many of them are solid and they're awesome, and they give us a sense of history. But with respect to actual change, we need to be far more in tune with our end goal. You want to see change, you have to meet people where they're at, not where you want them to be. So it's hard. And evidence-based policing isn't just in the data, it's across all types of everything in the organization. Wellness, human resources, equipment, technology, everything. What is the research telling us about certain things? I use and I know people get that broken record. It's Adam Grant, Think Again. And it's like, when you feel like a broken record, it's only just starting to sink in with the audience. 10 times, 7 to 10 times. I'm like, oh my God, they probably hate, well, they probably do. They probably just like hearing that message over and over. Hopefully they don't hate you, but you're trying to get a message across, and communication is everything. So you can say it lots, but if they're not hearing it, it doesn't matter. I look at the car that we're testing, the Battenberg design. It is, for some people, hideously ugly. For others, it's functional, but the why behind it is important. So, and it is fascinating to me, the why that it was designed the way it was and the alterations it took. You'll see out in the parking lot, there's a blue one with some yellowy and orange on it, or yellowy green. We took the research that existed in Canada out in New Brunswick with respect to commercial motor vehicles. We looked at fire trucks, research that was done in the US, as well as the National Traffic Safety Organization down there. And we also looked at the UK that had research done in their policing, in the policing sector over there. There's some substantial research, and we know what works if you want to increase visibility, reduce accidents, increase officer safety within the vehicle. Not like we don't drive around all night. So the reality is, that seems like a no-brainer, yes? So why wouldn't we just do it? You're asking me why wouldn't, if you know that that's the case, just do it. Well, okay, but we're talking about people, and people, it's just not that simple. So we went through a process, and it still goes on, and it is about bringing people around to understanding the why. And I've satisfied myself with this. I don't need you to love it. I just need you to understand the why. Because if you understand the why, and it's acceptable in your mind, then at least we can agree on that. And then you use the paramilitary style where this is the way we need to go. And these are the reasons why. And if you understand it, I have no problem. I sleep better at night knowing the likelihood of an accident could be reduced if you're more visible. You have husbands and wives at home. You have kids. One less accident is everything. If the community, and then there's some great research out of Ryland Simpson, out at SFU, Simon Fraser University on the West Coast, the perception of police by the public in different accoutrements on their uniform that was done in Irvine, California, and the style and design of their car. Listen, if you see a police officer and they're wearing black gloves and you view that as intimidating, and you view them, even in a momentary passing, as more aggressive, less trustworthy, less friendly, and you knew all you had to do was alter that, why wouldn't you? As a police leader, I would consider that low-hanging fruit, but it's not. It's about changing people. So I would say culture. I would say a unwillingness to, it is a long haul. There are no quick changes that if you want them to work and stick and for people to understand the why, it's about bringing people along with you. So, I mean, I'm sure this will not be a popular answer. And I'm okay with that because I think our association is important, incredibly so, because they give a forum to have those discussions. And I think at those, in Ontario with the OACP, and I know we have the CACP, and those are important interactions that you have with other police leaders, police managers, and directions. But really, I mean, and this sounds terrible because I mean, I am a big proponent of, that communication, but in Canada, the structure of policing would suggest if you want to change, you look perhaps to the UK and they have a college of policing. And I know everyone's the United Kingdom, but so a college of policing, but you also have a inspector general. And sometimes people have different opinions, and that's important to have those interactions. Need to just be told. Now, in Plato's Republic, we speak about the philosopher king, and it's the person that leads, because if they don't, someone of lesser ability will. And the fear here is, so if you do know that way, it's almost like not an enlightened despot, but you need to be directed. This is the research. We can feel differently about certain things, but human knowledge based on academic awareness, and what's been established repeatedly that we know of to this point, sometimes it doesn't matter how you feel about it. And I know that's probably a little out of touch with some of the things that we work towards in a more engaging type approach. But at the end of the day, I have a headache. I take ibuprofen, not because I think the little brownie pill thing works because it tastes good or something. It's just because there was randomized control trials. And they tested it, and there's some vigorous scientific research behind that has an interaction, whether it's my liver or my kidneys, that causes that perception of a headache to be reduced. That's why. So if we know, and I'm not suggesting it's one study, if we know through repeated randomized control trials that hotspot policing works, it really doesn't matter how you feel about it. As a public safety organization, perhaps we need to be told, thou shalt. And in policing, shall is a powerful word. Watch what happens, because at the end of it, we all have different opinions on, how we should approach things, and I think that's important, and we have to have that vigorous debate. But at some point, there needs to be a structure in terms of, and I don't want to say best practices, because that says that can stagnate. What we know to this point, the best evidence possible, what works, what doesn't, and what's promising. We should be focusing on what works and funding it properly. It is incredibly unpopular because in every city, there's a different context. Fair enough. But in every population base, we know there's concentrations of crime. We know that analysis will tell us where it is and when it is, and there are strategies to combat that. I don't have answers, but we do know that there are certain strategies that are more promising than others. A finite resource needs to be leveraged to the best of its ability. Perhaps that's where I would see an inspector general at a provincial, which we have in Ontario, or at a federal level. It is incredibly unpopular, and I don't pretend it's not. I get that. So what's the end goal here? So in terms of crime analysis, it's to use it effectively. So yeah, there should be an accountability piece as in any area of policing. But the focus going on that then becomes a default to we check the box versus how do we do it better or the best. I would argue benchmarking is something we need to do far more across organizations. And in terms of the adequacy standards in Ontario, phenomenal. We are still leaps and bounds ahead of so many other places because you shall do this and you shall provide this level of service. And kudos to the government at the time and to our communities, like in terms of that, the government to say, you're going to do this, and we did it. So a tactical team, you want to have you have to have this, 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 and this, and so there's check marks, and you had to meet these standards. So let's talk about crime analysis. And so you have to have a crime analyst. So where is this? I know as a police officer, I went to the Ontario Police College forever ago. Anyway, and we got this level of training, and it was tested and it was standardized. And so a crime analyst, unless there's been a seismic shift, I don't believe that is out there in terms of what a crime analyst, where that background is. Now, the fear here is that you lose great, phenomenally skilled crime analysts. They're actually doing the job and doing it really well because they didn't get the tick box, where you have other people who did the tick box and quite honestly are non-functional at best of times. And the problem is, from my seat is, you lose a founded belief in the value of analysis. So if your personnel, those women and men who wear a red stripe, actually don't have trust in the data they're getting is any value, or it's wrong, even worse, what's the point? Like, so you're not fighting, that the check mark, you're fighting a culture that's like, why are we going to trust that? It's never right, or it's just junk. Like, so it's not, I think it's a little more, the need for crime analysis to be standardized but maintained in terms of, so I'm doing it, these are the new standards, and whether there's levels. I mean, my only hesitation here is then you get into the processes and you can crush innovation so quickly with procedures and process, and they're important in terms of structure and flow, but at the same time, if they're too onerous, you have to do this, this, and this. We're not even going to explore this because this is what we know is the measure. We're not encouraging any kind of outside the box thinking. Listen, we need the standard. We need you to be able to do this, this, and this, and do it well, and it to be accurate. And we're going to have an outside body come in, and they're going to measure that. And you can do it. That's great. Now, show us what you're really made of. Because really, all police officers know how to do this, this, and this. The best ones, depending upon what you're looking for in a particular area, like in some areas, you need that high drive. In others, you need phenomenal paper. Arguably, you need a bit of everything and everywhere, but we need subject matter experts. So I don't know if we have that in the crime analysis area in a measurable way. So as a profession, for us, we need to be better at being able to use the data, but that means it's crime analysis isn't a part of police, like a separate part. It should be embedded and woven through everything we do. Like, that's just irrational that we have tons of data. What do you do with it? It kills me. There are certain bodies within Ontario that are absolutely adamant against it because it separates that. Academia should necessarily be separate than the police because the police aren't objective, and then the academics that are participating in that are not able to be objective. And if they're critical, they won't get published. And my perspective is completely different. So we're in the public safety. That is the job of the police. Academics are a phenomenal resource in terms of the ability to bring on side subject matter expertise in terms of, like, we can target pretty decently. That's Professor Sherman. Police are pretty good at targeting. Testing, less so. Tracking, really not so good. So, and the reality is, you can bring on subject matter experts that are far better at that portion, but also the analysis portion. Data scientists, there's a wealth of knowledge. People who can mine databases and think a little bit, like, it's a different perspective. It's incredibly important. Those relationships are invaluable. And we've worked with a number of academics, and I would suggest to you that in terms of police services, we're one of the most welcoming to invite people to come in because we don't have answers. We don't. And it's okay. It's shocking, but, well, you're the police. No, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to ask for assistance to do it. I could ask any officer, we have crime and it's concentrated in certain areas. I know that. And they do. There's an inherent, but where and when and who, not so much. And the research that supports it. So, and what you do, and I keep referring back to hotspots because that's low-hanging fruit, and because we do know that there's been a lot of vigorous research around that, substantial research that we can lean on and say to this point, and it could change, but repeated studies, study after study showing it works. Why wouldn't you use it? And so you look at it, and in certain locations at certain times, we know it'll happen. There's your analyst portion. What do you do in those times? Well, David Weisberg out of George Mason University. It is about being in those hotspots at the right time, but then engaging in procedurally just behaviors. So when you're speaking with someone, you're using, and again, there's literature and research to support what that actually entails. Explaining what you're doing, having that trustworthy motive, giving voice to somebody. There's a human dignity aspect to that. Incredibly important. Why would you not? And it's not about getting into bed with academia. It's about leaning on experts to do that. I go to a doctor, I don't expect my general practitioner to know everything. I expect him or her to tell me what they think and if I need to be referred to a specialist. If we want to know about legitimacy, why would we not look at some of the academics and say, what do you think? We've never done this. We don't always have to have the ideas either. We've dealt with one of the universities out in Western Canada about interviewing some of the individuals that we've arrested in terms of how they were treated, not in that individual case, but in policing in general and their perspectives. We've never asked before, never thought to do it. How important is that? Quite honestly, if we do know from the research that we have a level of recidivism within any community, and we know that exists, research, why wouldn't you want to at least have some insight into that? And if it comes back and all of a sudden it's a focus around human dignity, and there's an interaction issue there so someone's going to interact negatively with the police because as soon as they see the police, it gets them in a different type of mentality and they're going to engage with you differently. Wouldn't that be nice to know? So when you're met with that, instead of an immediate reaction from a toolbox, which from a physical skills is quite limited, like we can only do so many things, to have that psychological awareness and then be able to change our behavior to change their behavior, or at least impact it differently. In a modern day with body-worn cameras, shame on us for not looking at it. I would like to think that what the chief would like happens. I don't know if that's the case, how it trickles down and how it's communicated. That's part of it in terms of awareness and education, in terms of what we're telling our people and trying to encourage. I would suggest that we're looking at ways to encourage different ways of doing things. And I'll speak to performance management, and what you measure, what gets measured gets improved, and that's a truism, but I mean the reality is, so if you're more focused on how many times you went to a certain location, hotspot check, then perhaps, and it's measured, and then so we can measure with our computer-aided dispatch, we can measure with Niche, our records management system in terms of what occurred in that area. Then there becomes an increased focus, because if we're watching something, not the Hawthorne effect, but to some degree, like if our personnel know that we are focused on that, we like to see more of that. Perhaps you see more of it, and that's not a bad thing. But in terms of why we're doing it is incredibly important. So that's the bigger win here. So if they know that they do that, we may see reduced crime, and it would suggest from the literature that we will. That's incredibly important. The epic failure on most organizations is in the implementation phase. And the implementation phase is where I have fallen on my face too many times. And I say that to be quite honest, because great idea or not, but the idea and in the execution, but the lack of the effectual feedback loop. Listen, our officers work day and night. The women and men with that red stripe on, that's a tough go through the night. Doesn't matter who you are, just the circadian rhythm shot, like you're just feeling crappy. we ask a lot of them as human beings. So if we're asking them to do something, this position, the office of the chief, better be damn well willing to give them an appropriate and time-sensitive feedback loop. What are they doing and what effect is it having? So, to that effect, where does crime analysis fit in this? I said there's a primacy to it because there needs to be. So if we're tracking and we're asking them to do something because we know the research is telling us it is more than likely, not more than likely, it will be effective in having an impact on crime harm as well as crime volume. How are you showing it? How are you explaining it? How are you completing that feedback loop? So if I'm an officer and I come in and I know what I'm doing is having an impact. So it's an investment in skills, training, equipment, in your analysts, but also in terms of information sharing systems. So, in my world, I love for officers to come in and on screens, there's that three-dimensional, picture of the city, and there's zoom-ins of the hot spots and where we know crime's concentrated in terms of volume and harm. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. And then time lapse between certain times. Show them from the start where it was identified as a hot spot to effectual and the number. Show them with the technology you invest in. We have a system where it's based on the location of the car, location of their handheld cell phones that we issue. If it matters that much, let them know. Of course, you're tracking it. There's, body-worn cameras can have that built in too. The reality is they're going into this area. What effect does that have on crime? So is your analysis important? Incredibly so. But it's not one thing or the other. So it's the officers doing it, but doing it based on the data that's provided by the analysis, and your analyst saying, you need to be here this time in this place for this long, or be here and then be here and be here. So it's a very complex in terms of all the pieces that would have to come together, but quite simple in terms of you gotta do this, and you gotta do this. For the win here is a culture that's like, when I do have those moments, where do you need me? And if it's as simple as that, then it's a win because I know if I go there, it's a tick box, but also I could actually have an impact in terms of the analysts are telling me this is where there's a greater potential to reduce crime ever occurring, and we've had repeated whatever crime, whatever violation, that's the win. So we all got into this job to make a difference, to leave it better than we found it. And it's just a different way of looking at it. It's not always about catching, Johnny Criminalis. It's about preventing it in the first place. That's a public safety approach. That's necessarily different, but that's based on a crime analyst looking at big stacks of data, crunching it, telling you where your concentrations are. Not, a wise guy once told me, the old rib rub. I know where this is. Appreciating that, but it's a shift. Lean on your analysts who are very capable and competent. When you have the right analysts, and I'll be like, you got to have firing all cylinders and got it going on. They know what they're talking about. Get that data in there and have them pump out what it looks like and where they need to be, and then show it. And I know this sounds simplistic, and I have a operational sergeant who's giving me the gears in terms of I'm too worried about certain things. We are visual people. Human beings are visual, and it's got to look cool. I know that sounds simplistic and juvenile, but if it ain't cool looking, people aren't going to do it. Show me. And I'm like, it's got to be something funky. And so you want something that creates a little bit of, I want to see more. Because I can show you an Excel sheet that explains the same thing. You know who's looking at it? No one. You know who's going to action it? No one. You show me a time-lapse map with cool buildings changing colors given rates of volume of crime or weights of crime based on the crime severity index in Canada. That's what you want. So it's meeting people where they're at and knowing human nature. So there's a couple of things there for a crime analyst that it's because there are some incredibly skilled crime analysts out there, and I have no doubt about it. The problem is sometimes they work in organizations, policing organizations, that are like, no, just give me this. So, and to your point, they produce over 20 years the same thing, and it's like all they're doing is pulling numbers. That is, and then you get into I think the learned helplessness. You know, no matter what you do, you just keep doing the same thing, and it's a lot to ask after 20 years. You know, like, need you to think differently and to do what you probably really want to do. And there's that curiosity, and I do speak about that because it is an important factor, a curiosity to look at things differently. I think there's a challenge where, and it's incredibly important, and it's one of those things you're like, okay, you're a crime analyst, boof. It doesn't matter if you're the best crime analyst in the world, if you can't communicate what you have to say to someone who's sitting in a seat that happens to be like, that the role is supposed to inform. So what are you saying and how are you saying it? And this is not about, you know, you have to be a phenomenal orator, but how you explain it. Meeting people where they're at. Because it's one of those where you want to lose my attention span incredibly quick, go into techno speak. You know what? You're the smartest person I know. What did you say? Don't know. Okay, I'll see you in a month, maybe 2 months. I'll see how that goes. Because are you informing me or are you trying to tell me things that I should know? Okay, appreciating, maybe I should, but I don't know what I don't know. Your role is to analyze crime. Tell me what the analysis of the crime is. And I'm going to tell you, I just need you to pull the numbers. That is a reaction to, you know, when we looked at the bivariate, blah, blah, I'm gone. Thanks for coming out, high fives. Tell me, you have an opportunity, use your windows well, and put it in terms that is in a, knowing your individual, like who you're speaking with, or that group, know your audience. Know your audience. Great. And there are some people who ingest Excel format type presentations. I am not one. I am not one. So anyone listening, do not show me an Excel and say, ooh, look at the number. I don't care. Like, I know it's statistically significant, and even then, now I question that. I'm like, okay, but for policing, it may not be like statistically significant, but if you're telling me that there's a 90% likelihood that this is still going to work, high fives, I'm doing it anyway. But that's an easy win for me. I just know your audience, and when you're working at different levels of the organization, leverage it. So for a crime analyst thinking, I want to have an impact in an organization, and it sounds like I'm asking you to coddle the individuals that you're working with, because you're working with them though. And look at it like a partnership. And you may have to work at that to have the other person understand that. I have sworn personnel and I have analysts. And when they come together, awesome stuff happens, because the analyst brings this is what I'm seeing in the numbers, and look at the concentration here. And the sworn personnel is like, oh, that's okay. So you're seeing this concentration because unbeknownst to you, and this was a newer analyst, and you're like, and which is great to hear. They're like, we got rid of the top 3 places because, and you might find this humorous, and your analyst audience will find this humorous. So we looked at our hotspots. You know where our hottest spot in the city is by far year over year? Do you? I know you know. It's embarrassing, but I'm like, come on. So, okay, because we never cared before. So of course, the crime where it was reported, it was a mistake, like it's entered as to where it took place. Do I care where a crime takes place? Yes. Do I care where it's reported? Less so, depending upon what we're looking. So yeah, you would think that the police station is the hottest place in the world because, man, everything happens here. No, it's reported here. A lot of people do walk-ins or call-ins or however you were, but the analysis showed that it's like we're off the charts. That's not helpful. But it's helpful when the analyst shows and they work and they're like, oh no, we can write that off because of this. And specifically with the research coming in, again, we're looking at harm levels and harm weights. And so you have a location like, this one's off the charts and it's incredibly high. Yes, but when the sworn personnel looks at it, it's like, yep, but it's drawn from one occurrence, and that weight, it's an outlier. So in Canada, we're a smaller community, Barrie, 140, 150, 170,000, some are up to 200. Like it varies. You have a homicide, which is a horrible event. It impacts the individual's family, the community, and again, I use this as an example because there's a weight attached to it. The crime severity index, 7,000 and change as a weight. And there's a formula to it. We won't go into that. The reality is, one occurrence can drag. That average can draw the attention. Like, okay, but you have the sworn personnel. That's a homicide. That's a residence. It happened once. No crime before. We haven't had anything since. We're going to put that in a box, and we recognize it. Serious offense. Does repeated presence of a police officer there have any impact? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If we start to see before that an increase in certain things, different. Do we see is there some sort of a CAD calls that we're seeing an increase in police assistance for other things, and then you have this great event, not a great, large event occur, that's different. But that's your analysis, your crime analyst working with your sworn personnel in there, and they work together because it's using the experience, and I don't mean the rub, I'm meaning the job on the ground knowledge, but with someone who's looking at all the data, not just from the experience of one person, but from the experience of every single officer that have worked over the last at least 5 years, and the average, and then 365 days prior to that. So you want to see that. It's a merge. So when you're speaking with your operational personnel, crime analysts, speak in, know them, pick their brains, because they probably have some insights too. And if you want buy-in, there's no better way than if someone feels they're invested in the solution. From my perspective, I come into a room, I have an analyst working in the same office as sworn personnel who's very highly regarded in our organization, and they come up with solutions. I'm like, oh my goodness, love it. And we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna, that is, that kind of relationship is where the analysis is primary to a high functioning organization. So at the Barrie Police, I want to take that and I want to spread it everywhere in the organization where you see it at a repeated level in different areas. So there's that, what is our data telling us, and what can we do to action it and measure it? I don't care it's not doomed to succeed. We will track. And if it doesn't work, it's okay. Fail forward, fail fast. So thank you for the opportunity. I will leave you with this because I think it is important, and it'll be interesting in a few years if we do talk again about that in terms of what's happened. I said I had no answers, but I'm willing to fail. So it's Voltaire that said, don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. We need to move forward, and we have the ability. So it'll be interesting. I'm excited because I don't know. I know the direction we're going. I'm interested to see where we end up.
That was Rich Johnston, police chief, strategic thinker, and friend. Thanks for checking out this episode from our All About Analysis channel. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like, hit subscribe, and click that bell. And don't forget to share this video. See you next time.